I remember the day my life changed forever, not by a blinding light or angelic chorus, but by a phone call that silenced my mom. It was a Saturday morning in June, hot, sticky, one of those southern Texas days when the sun doesn't ask permission. I was at the skate park with my best friend Ryder, trying to land a kickflip. I had just shouted, "Did you see that?" when my mom's old blue Honda Civic pulled up fast to the edge of the lot. Her face looked tight, pale, like she'd been crying and holding her breath at the same time. "Come on, Kaden," she said. Her voice cracked. "We have to go. Now." I didn't ask questions I knew. Somewhere in my bones, I knew it was about Dad. My dad, Kaden Whitmore, wasn't perfect. He drank too much some nights, worked too many hours as a welder, and didn't always remember birthdays on time. But when he was with me, he was really with me. He taught me how to ride a bike, how to tell a dumb joke at the right time, and how to stay calm when I fell on concrete or in life. And now he was gone. Car accident. Instant. No pain, they said. I didn't know if that made it better or worse. At the funeral, everyone kept touching my shoulder and saying things like, "He's in a better place now," or "God has a plan." But I didn't care about plans. I wanted my dad back. I wanted to hear his voice booming through the house, calling me champ. I wanted one more drive with the windows down and the radio loud. That night, I locked myself in my room. I stared at the ceiling and clenched my fists until they went numb. Then I whispered into the dark, "If you're real, God, show me. Because this isn't love." I didn't expect an answer. It started 3 nights later. I had cried myself to sleep again. My pillow was damp. The night was heavy still. And then, suddenly, I was standing in a place I didn't recognize. There was no bed, no room, no roof. Just light. It wasn't like sunlight or a flashlight. It was warm, alive. It pulsed like a heartbeat all around me. And in the middle of it stood a man. He didn't say a word at first. He just looked at me. His eyes weren't any color I could name, just deep and endless, like standing on the edge of an ocean made of stars. He wore simple white clothes, and his face didn't glow, but it radiated something that felt more real than anything I'd ever felt. I wasn't afraid. That's the part that's hardest to explain. I should have been terrified, standing in some place outside time, staring at someone I somehow knew was Jesus. But I wasn't. I felt home. "Hi, Kaden," he finally said. His voice was soft but filled everything around me. "I've been with you since before you were born." I wanted to run to him, but my legs didn't move. I didn't need to. Suddenly, I just understood everything, like I could feel his love pouring into me like warm water. I forgot my sadness, my fear, my questions. All of it melted away. And then, without him saying a word, I saw my dad. He wasn't broken or pale or lying still like in a casket. He was alive, smiling, laughing. He looked younger than I'd ever seen him, like in pictures from when he was 20. He didn't say anything, but he looked right at me and nodded, tears in his eyes. Not sad tears, happy ones, proud ones. I reached out toward him, but he stepped back into the light. Jesus touched my shoulder. "He's with me," he said gently. "He's okay now." "But I'm not," I whispered. Jesus knelt to my level and looked me in the eyes. "That's why I brought you here." The moment Jesus said, "That's why I brought you here," something shifted. The bright place I was in began to change, not darker, just fuller. The light bent and deepened into colors I'd never seen before, like they were alive too. Around us appeared a garden, but not like anything back on earth. The grass shimmered like it was lit from within. Flowers bloomed in shapes that didn't even make sense star-like, some glowing, some humming softly. A river ran nearby, but it didn't make noise. It sang. I could somehow feel the river's song in my chest, like a memory I never had but missed anyway. Jesus walked beside me without speaking. I didn't need him to. I was learning things without words. Every step taught me something I didn't even know I needed to know about forgiveness, about purpose, about how small and big I was all at once. We stopped near a tree with silver leaves. I looked up and asked, why did he have to die? Jesus didn't answer right away. Instead, he knelt beside the tree and touched its bark. The leaves shimmered. "Do you see this tree, Kaden?" I nodded. "It's beautiful. It never asks why it loses its leaves in fall," he said, turning to me. "It trusts that spring will come again." That made my heart ache. But he was my dad. He wasn't just a leaf. Jesus looked at me with such kindness, I felt my knees go weak. He was more than you can imagine. His death wasn't the end of his story or yours. Love never dies, Kaden. That's the lie the world tells you. But I tell you the truth. Love creates roots so deep, not even death can pull them out. I started to cry, but not the kind of crying I did in my bed at night. These tears weren't heavy. They felt like they were washing something old out of me, like guilt, anger, fear. Jesus let me cry. He just sat beside me, hand on my back, like the best friend I didn't know I needed. Then he said something I'll never forget. "I didn't come just to take your father home. I came to walk you through the grief so it wouldn't swallow you." "Then why does it hurt so bad?" I asked. "Why do I feel like I can't breathe sometimes?" "Because you loved him well, and you were never meant to carry the pain alone." I looked into his eyes again, and I saw something so wild, so beautiful. It almost scared me. I saw that he had cried too, not just for me, but for every person who ever felt lost. He knew the pain. He had felt it, and he had defeated it. "Kaden," he said, gently but firmly, "there is something I want to show you." He took my hand, and just like that, the garden disappeared. We were moving, fast but peaceful, like flying through memory and light. We passed over cities, then mountains, oceans, even people. I saw a girl crying on her bathroom floor, a man alone in a hospital bed, a kid being bullied at school. And in each moment, I saw something else, something invisible before, a quiet light beside them. Watching, waiting. "You're always there," I whispered. "Yes," Jesus said, "even when you don't see me, even when you don't believe I'm near." We stopped suddenly in a quiet room. It took me a second to realize I knew the place. It was my house, my actual bedroom. My real body was lying on the bed, breathing softly. Mom was asleep on the floor next to me, hand on my blanket. And then I saw something I didn't expect, light coming from me. Not glowing skin, but something deeper. Like something inside me was starting to wake up, and it wasn't just mine. It was his. It was him. "You put that in me?" I asked. Jesus smiled. "I put myself in you the day you were born, so that when the darkness comes, my light will fight to rise. You're not alone, Kaden, and you never will be." I stared at the light inside me, flickering just beneath my skin, and something shifted in my soul, like I'd found a secret passage I didn't know I'd lost. I wasn't just a kid whose dad had died. I was something more, someone more. Jesus placed a hand over my heart and said, "This light will grow if you let it, but you must feed it with truth." "What kind of truth?" I asked, my voice trembling. He looked directly into me. "The kind that says your life matters, that your voice matters, that even your pain is not wasted." Then he pointed to my sleeping mom, curled beside my bed like she was guarding my soul. "She's been praying for you to feel me, to know I'm real." That prayer opened a doorway. I swallowed hard. "So this is real?" He didn't answer with words. He just nodded. And somehow that was more convincing than anything anyone could have ever said. We stood in silence for a moment. A soft wind moved around us, not air exactly, but spirit. I could hear something in it, a whisper, a melody. Then Jesus turned to me and asked something unexpected. "Kaden, would you like to see where your father is?" My heart nearly stopped. "I can." He smiled, and without waiting, we began to move again, not flying, not walking, but just being carried. We entered a place that I swear was more real than earth. The colors were deeper. The sky shimmered like sunlight reflecting off clear water. It felt familiar and strange all at once, like coming home to a place I never knew I missed. And then I saw him, Dad, standing in a field filled with light and movement and laughter. Other people were around, some I recognized from old family photos. His dad, my grandpa, Aunt May, who died from cancer. They were all vibrant, joyful, ageless. He turned and saw me. His eyes lit up. "Cade," he shouted, laughing as he ran toward me. When we embraced, it didn't feel like a dream. It felt more solid than hugs ever did on earth. It felt like truth. "I missed you so much," I cried. He pulled back and cupped my face in his hands, just like he used to. "I never really left, buddy. Not where it counts. But why'd you have to go?" He looked past me for a moment, not avoiding the question, but looking at something higher. "Because my time was done, but your time isn't. And now you've seen, you know this isn't goodbye." He glanced toward Jesus, standing quietly behind me. "You're in the best hands." Tears welled in his eyes again. "I didn't always get it right, Cade, but I did love you, and I still do, more now than ever." I clung to him one more time. I could smell the familiar mix of motor oil and that aftershave he always wore. It was so him. It made my chest ache with both joy and longing. Jesus stepped forward. "Kaden, it's time." "No," I whispered. "Please, just a little longer." My dad nodded. "I'll be waiting, right here, and you'll feel me with you, I promise." The light began to pull me again, like a tide made of love. Jesus took my hand, and everything blurred. I woke up choking on a sob, my face soaked in tears. I was back in my room. Mom was still asleep on the floor beside me, her hands still resting on my blanket. The window was cracked open, and soft morning light spilled in. But something was different. I felt it. Something had shifted in the air, in my chest, in the way the world sounded. The sadness was still there, but now it had a voice beside it. A presence, a hope. And deep down, I knew I had seen Jesus. I had seen heaven, and my dad was alive in a way I couldn't explain, but would never again doubt. The days after I came back were strange. At first, I didn't tell anyone, not even Mom. How do you say, "Hey, I just talked to Jesus and hugged Dad in a field of light," without sounding completely nuts? But I couldn't keep it inside for long. The memories were too real, the feelings too powerful. It was like a fire had started in my chest, gentle but unstoppable. And I realized, even though I was just 11, I had something I had to say. The first person I told was Ryder. We were back at the skate park a week later. He was trying to land a 360 flip and swearing under his breath, like always. I sat on the edge of the ramp, staring up at the sky. It felt bigger now, like I knew what was beyond it. "Hey," I said, "you ever wonder what happens when people die?" He stopped, flipped his board up, and looked at me like I'd grown a second head. "Oh, what?" I shrugged. "Just, if there's anything after, like heaven or God." He squinted at me. "Dude, are you okay?" I laughed. "Yeah, better than okay, actually." So I told him the whole thing, not everything, just enough. His face went from skeptical to weirdly quiet. When I mentioned seeing my dad, his expression cracked. "My cousin died last year," he said softly. "She was 12. I still think about her sometimes. I don't know what to believe." I nodded. I didn't either, but now I do. He didn't say anything for a minute. Then, "You really saw him?" "Jesus." "Yeah." "What was he like?" I smiled. "Like the opposite of fear. Like everything you ever needed and didn't know how to ask for." That was the first conversation. There were more. At school, in the neighborhood, at church, where I started asking questions instead of just zoning out during the sermons. I didn't preach. I just told my story. But something even weirder started happening. People listened. Adults. Teenagers. My friend's mom, who hadn't been to church in years, came up to me after hearing me talk and said, "I think I needed to hear that more than you know." The fire in my chest burned brighter. One night, I finally told Mom everything. She sat on the couch, wrapped in Dad's old hoodie, her eyes wide and wet the whole time. When I finished, she just stared at me for a second. Then she whispered, "I knew something happened. I felt it, like peace came back to the house." We cried together that night. For Dad, for everything we missed, but also for something new, something alive that neither of us could name, but both of us could feel. Hope. The biggest change? I started waking up with purpose. Every morning, I'd say a simple prayer. "Let your light shine through me today." Not fancy, not perfect, but real. At the skate park, I started offering to pray for kids who got hurt. Quietly, just a hand on their shoulder and a whisper. Sometimes they looked at me funny. Sometimes they said thanks. A few even cried. One boy, Zach, came back the next day and said, "I haven't felt calm like that in forever." I didn't have all the answers. Still don't. But I had something. A memory. A fire. A truth I couldn't unsee. Jesus is real. Heaven is real. My dad is alive, and so am I more alive than I ever knew I could be. And even now, a year later, when I'm skating down the street, the wind in my face, I sometimes hear a whisper behind me. A laugh. A voice calling out, "Go, champ." And I smile because I know he's still here. Sometimes I still dream of the garden. It comes in flashes: the glowing tree with silver leaves, the river that sings, the way Jesus looked at me like I was the only person in the universe, and somehow not too small to matter. I wake up with my heart beating fast, but not from fear. From longing to go back, and yet knowing that I was brought back for a reason. When you're 11, people don't expect you to talk about eternity. They expect you to play video games, go to school, maybe get in trouble for talking too much in class. And yeah, I still do some of that. I'm still a kid. I still fall. I still miss Dad like crazy. But I'm not the same. The light, I saw the one he showed me inside myself. It hasn't gone out. Not even once. Some days it feels dim. When I mess up, when I say something mean, or when I get overwhelmed and ask, "God, are you still there?" Even then, the light flickers. And flickers still mean it's alive. I don't pretend to be a prophet or a preacher. I'm just a boy who got to see what most people only wonder about. And that makes me responsible in a weird, holy kind of way. I'm responsible to remember, to live like it mattered, like I was changed. So I write sometimes. In a notebook I keep under my bed, I jot down things Jesus whispered to my heart. Pain doesn't mean I've left. You're not too young to carry hope. Tell them I see them. I used to think being brave meant landing a trick on my board. Now I know it also means talking about what I saw when I closed my eyes and opened my soul. It means standing up in front of the youth group and saying, "He's real. I know because I met him," even when some roll their eyes. It means loving people even when they don't love you back. Forgiving fast, praying soft, walking slow when someone's hurting. And it means trusting that death is not the end, because I've seen beyond the veil. I've heard the laughter of the redeemed. I've touched my dad's hand again and felt Jesus kneel beside me and call me by name. I used to be just a kid trying to make sense of loss. Now I'm a witness, not because I earned it, not because I deserved it, but because grace pulled me in and sent me back. So if you're reading this, if you've lost someone, if your heart's broken in a way no one else seems to understand, hear me when I say, He knows. He's near, and He's not afraid of your pain. He came all the way down for you too. And His light, once it finds you, never lets you go.